we have Dr. Makatsoris. Big thanks for accepting our invitation today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So collaborators are really important factor.
Yeah.
But as well, another factor is the resource that you need for the project. Resource like time, people,
Yeah.
space, equipment.
Uh-huh.
How do you plan the range of resources needed for the project?
Yes, I mean this is now nitty-gritty project planning, really, and if you, being an expert in your area, you would know the kind of resource you would require. But the starting point is really the aim and objectives. Okay, so if you phrase the aim and objectives in the correct way, yeah, then you can work out obviously the project plan, and the project plan will drive the resource requirements. Now, there are some other considerations here, especially when you plan people's time. Not necessarily your time, which you have to plan in, you have to cost in the proposal, but also the researchers you are going to hire. And you have to take into account the fact that these people are going to come from, well, they will have probably just finished their PhD. They might have 1 or 2 years postdoctoral experience, either in industry or in your own group or in another university. And working in a new research project, they have to understand the project so that there will be a period, learn the techniques that you are familiar with or not familiar with, and you have to familiarize yourself as well. So that there is a ramp-up period. Okay, so you have to take that into account as well. Okay, so you have to factor it in and you have to cost it. And another component is that ultimately, for the research assistant, research associate, whatever the pay grade is, there is a training element as well. Okay, so as I mentioned before, what these funding schemes are trying to do, they're trying to create future leaders, right? You have to factor that in your proposal. So you hire somebody, why somebody would like to work in academia as a research fellow or research assistant? Because ultimately they want an academic career, okay? They want to build up their profiles because they want to enter academia. You have to factor that in, and you have to make sure that you do train them, you do bring them on board, you show them the ropes, okay? And that's an expectation in these projects, okay? Now, there is another category, and okay, most of the things I mentioned are for researchers who have some experience or lots of experience in raising research money, research funding. There are many schemes for early career researchers or ECRs, okay? All these networking activities I mentioned. And funding schemes by the research councils, they do take into account, they do welcome actually ECRs, okay, early career researchers. And there are application schemes, as I'm sure you are aware of, for early career researchers, like the first grant scheme, okay? My advice is, if you have never applied before, that should be your #1 priority, okay? So, understand what the scheme is about and apply, or engage with networks, with others more experienced, and try to take advantage of the ECR schemes. There are targeted meetings for early career researchers by the research councils, by these kind of projects I mentioned. So keep your eyes open and try to find out when and where these meetings take place and participate, okay? Because, again, this is, in my experience, the only way to get the inroads into research council funding and the collaborations and all the rest of it. Okay?
Yeah, you pointed out many points were very, very important. Like, thank you very much for this. It's very, very good. But is there anything that you would highlight aside all of this, and mainly with all of this? What does it make it successful? What is it?
if I had an answer to that, then
Well, you do.
all the proposals I have submitted would be successful, and unfortunately they are not. I mean, completely on top of my head, my success rate is more or less the national average, right, which is 20-25%. And of course that's the average, yeah, which means that there are many people who actually are below, and of course many others who are above that, right? And not all proposals are successful. So there isn't a magic answer to that. And of course, success really depends on many other factors. So if you have done everything you possibly could and you have a stellar proposal by any standard, there is still a very, very high chance of not getting it funded, okay? Because of the way the panel has assessed the application on the day, or maybe because the other applications were so far better than yours, that yours was not bad, it just didn't make the funding line, okay? So there isn't a clear answer. So my advice would be, do as much as you possibly can on your end, tick all the boxes, make sure you respond to the call. And of course, you have to be in the cutting edge of your area. Sometimes we do a project in our PhDs or in our postdocs and all that. And that's fine, but that's past tense, right? You have to look into the future. What is the cutting edge? What are the unanswered questions in your field? You must totally be up to date. That's one. And the second thing is, don't be afraid to work across disciplines. Okay, your PhD is right in the middle, or was right in the middle of an established research area. Somebody else has established. If you want to be a successful researcher, you have to push the boundaries, okay, and establish your own research agenda, and your own research area if you are lucky, right? How do you do that? You have to work with others. You have to work at the boundaries of disciplines. Okay, so you have to be aware. So don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. That is essential. In fact, this is another key criterion that research councils are looking for these days, because that's where invention, innovation, and discovery is these days. It's not in the middle of traditional or existing research areas. It's at the boundaries. So work with, or try to work with, people who are well outside your research area. And Lorna, you know, I have made a science out of it, right? I've been working with chemists. I have worked with social scientists. I have worked with biologists, biochemists, and so on and so forth. I do bring something specific in the mix, obviously, okay? But I try to push the boundaries. I try to work across disciplines. So, you know, at the end of the day, you might respond to a call, tick all the boxes, but the idea might be so incremental, so traditional, so boring, and you won't be successful. So the idea still plays a major role, okay? And you can only get great ideas for research by doing that, work across disciplines.
But how difficult it is, though, to talk?
It's very difficult.
Across disciplines.
It's very difficult. And it's something that you can only develop over time, okay? And by working with others. Needs a lot of work on your part, a lot of reading, a lot of research, looking at, try to have a much broader bird's eye view, if you like, of your own domain, as well as read anything you can get your hands on, okay? That will inspire ideas and where to go. But again, I cannot stress enough how important it is to meet other people from outside your own discipline, right? And that is a very, very good source of ideas. Okay. But it does require a lot of work. A lot of work. It's not easy, and it's something. And as you said, how do you develop the language? Very important. And that is done only by reading lots of it. Yes. So doing your homework and interacting with others. Okay. Go to presentations, talk to them, and of course they will be speaking their own language. You have to go back and try to understand what it is they said. What does this keyword mean? How maybe they use a term, but they mean exactly something that you really understand, but you call it differently in your own area. Okay, that happens very frequently. So you really have to understand. You have to build a vocabulary, really, okay, and don't expect somebody else to do it for you.
Okay. On that inspirational note, we'd like to say a big thank you to Dr. Makatsoris. And I think as we all heard, let's push the boundaries. Network, but network efficiently. And with that, we can do our best, and let's see what happens. And I hope this is just the beginning of many more discussions to come on this very topic, both online and also within our various offices and communities. So thank you very much for watching us once again on Research Live, and see you next time.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks for having me.